So for the last 13 of 19 years, WWE has held a draft of some sorts. We've got men and women on Raw, men and women on SmackDown with the brand split. Now, there's been times when the brand split has kind of been non-existent and then it came back and then it was gone again. But for the most part, the brand split has been around since 2002. And when you look at the draft, you always got to think of, well, who's the number one draft pick every year? And we thought with the 2021 WWE draft kicking off tonight on SmackDown, we would go back and look at all 13 number one draft picks over the years and give you some big moments and news notes from each year as well. So, 2002 started the draft with Vince McMahon and Ric Flair. Let's take a look. In 2001, Vince McMahon thought he had bought WCW, but then we found out that he didn't. Shane McMahon did, and in turn, Stephanie, well, she bought ECW. The two merged together, and they became the Alliance. We had the not so popular invasion in WWF, where of course WWF won, dissolving the Alliance. But coming out of that, found out that Ric Flair, 16-time World Heavyweight Champion, had bought half of WWF from Shane and Stephanie, and now was Vince's partner. With Vince and Rick not wanting to work together, they split the brands. Vince took SmackDown, Rick took Raw, and that is where we got the first ever draft in 2002. Going into the 2002 draft, a lot of things were unknown, especially how this would all work. Some guys can only work on Raw and some guys can only work on SmackDown. And well, Vince got that first draft pick, and that first draft pick was none other than The Rock. Now, The Rock himself was not too happy to be drafted to Friday Night SmackDown. He came out, confronted Vince McMahon and said, "Hey, Vince, you're going to take me away from all of this Monday Night Raw?" And Vince said, "I got the first draft pick. I'm picking The Rock. You're coming to SmackDown." Some other big news notes from the 2002 draft. Triple H was the WWF Undisputed Champion, and at the time, champions could not be drafted. That also goes for Jazz, who was the current WWF Women's Champion. Again, both champions were undrafted and able to go on either brand. Also undrafted was Chris Jericho, Stephanie McMahon, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Jericho and Stephanie went undrafted because, well, that night of the draft, they competed against Triple H in a triple threat for the WWF Undisputed Championship. Stephanie ultimately became the general manager of SmackDown, where Jericho, well, he ended up joining SmackDown. As far as Stone Cold Steve Austin does go, Linda McMahon stated that he was a free agent, not allowed to be drafted, and he can choose what brand he wants to sign with. Ultimately, Austin chose Raw. WWE skipped the draft in 2003 and we moved to 2004. In 2004, they did kind of like a lottery system. They spun the bingo wheel. SmackDown had that first pull, and boom, Paul Heyman drew Rene Dupree. Yes, Rene Dupree was the number one draft pick in 2004. Some other notes from this draft. Eric Bischoff actually drafted Paul Heyman, the SmackDown general manager. Prior to him actually debuting on Monday Night Raw, he would resign and quit, saying, "Hey, I ain't working for Eric Bischoff." Also, Triple H was drafted over to SmackDown, but before debuting over on SmackDown, was traded over to Raw in a huge big old trade for a number of guys where we saw the Dudleys, Booker T, and others move over to SmackDown. The 2005 draft was a little interesting because the number one draft pick was the WWE champion, John Cena. John Cena would move over to Monday Night Raw, and this draft was not done over one night, it was done over a full month. Leading up to the end of this draft, it looked like both world champions, John Cena and Dave Bautista, were going to be on Monday Night Raw. SmackDown needed a new top champion. The current general manager at the time, Teddy Long, set up a tournament to crown a new champion of SmackDown, and when JBL won that tournament, out would come, well, Teddy Long to say, "JBL, you don't need to be the champion, playa, because we've got a champion. The final pick of the draft is Dave Bautista, the World Heavyweight Champion." That year, we saw the WWE Championship move from SmackDown to Raw, and the World Heavyweight Championship move from Raw to SmackDown. Now, the next draft was actually 2007. There wasn't really a draft in 2006. We added the ECW brand. Paul Heyman got to pull RVD and Kurt Angle over there, but again, there was no draft. Yet in 2007, the number one draft pick was none other than the Great Khali. and the Great Khali would move from Raw to SmackDown. And SmackDown earned the #1 draft pick that year after Edge defeated John Cena in a match for said #1 pick. Speaking of Edge, just weeks after the draft, Edge had to relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship due to injury, and well, that #1 draft pick, Great Khali, would end up winning a Battle Royal to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Also in this draft, we did see Bobby Lashley, who was the current ECW World Champion at the time, get drafted to Monday Night Raw, and in turn have to vacate and get stripped of that ECW World title. 2008 was another year similar to 2007, where we had matches to determine who gets the draft pick. First match was Triple H versus Mark Henry. Triple H represented Raw, Mark Henry represented SmackDown, and Triple H was ultimately the winner, giving Raw that first pick and getting Rey Mysterio. The masked legend from the 619 would move over from SmackDown to Raw and have an actual pretty big year in 2008 on the red brand. One other notable move in this draft was, well, announcers. This draft actually saw Jim Ross move off of Monday Night Raw and commentate on SmackDown for the first time ever. Jim Ross had always been the lead commentator on Monday Night Raw, but the draft, well, it moved him to SmackDown, proving, just like we saw in 2004 with Eric Bischoff drafting Paul Heyman, anybody can be drafted. 2009 saw similar moves with wrestlers having to earn draft picks for their brand, and Raw once again got that first draft pick after Rey Mysterio defeated Evan Bourne. Rey represented Raw, Evan Bourne represented ECW, and with that first draft pick, he got the MVP, Montel Vontavious Porter, and at the time, the current United States Champion. MVP would bring the United States Championship from SmackDown to Raw, and speaking of Rey Mysterio, Rey was actually the current Intercontinental Champion at the time, and towards the end of that night, Rey ended up on SmackDown, bringing the IC title from Raw to SmackDown. 2010 was the next year of the draft. Again, WWE did more of the represent your brand, earn your branded draft pick, and lay cool. Layla and Michelle McCool actually defeated the team of Maurice and Eve Torres to get SmackDown the first draft pick. And with this SmackDown draft pick, Kelly Kelly actually became the first female to become the #1 draft pick. Now, 2011, that was an interesting one because John Cena was the #1 draft pick. John Cena is the only person to be the #1 draft pick more than one time, but even though Cena was drafted from Raw to SmackDown at the beginning of the show, it didn't end up like that because by the end of Monday Night Raw in the draft, well, Cena was drafted back over to Raw. John Cena would remain on Monday Night Raw and not even have to go over to SmackDown in 2011. One interesting note about this draft is that Sheamus was the current United States Champion. Sheamus was actually drafted to SmackDown, bringing the title from Raw to SmackDown, yet 5 days later at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, he would lose the United States Championship to Kofi Kingston, and well, Kofi being a member of Raw, the title itself would just go right back to Raw. Now, WWE kind of did away with the draft for a little while between 2011 and 2016. In 2016, Vince McMahon put Stephanie and Shane in charge of the brands. Stephanie was the commissioner of Raw with Mick Foley as her general manager, and Shane McMahon was the commissioner of SmackDown with Daniel Bryan as his general manager. With that, the two had to draft all new brands because, well, the brand split kind of went away for a while, and Raw did get that #1 draft pick. In doing so, Raw would pick Seth Rollins. Now, the reason Stephanie had picked Seth Rollins is because, well, she thought by the end of the night, he would be the WWE champion. Rollins was challenging Dean Ambrose for the championship and, well, was unsuccessful, leaving Raw with no champion and the WWE title on SmackDown. This would then ultimately spark the birth of the Universal Championship. Also in the 2016 draft, this is the first time NXT superstars were included in the draft. This year saw notable call-ups like Finn Balor, American Alpha, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, and others. Now in 2017, WWE kind of went away with the draft for a little bit, and they had just a superstar shakeup. They would just randomly announce, hey, this person's moving from Raw to SmackDown, and this person's moving from SmackDown to Raw, and the first person announced Apollo Crews to Monday Night Raw. WWE actually announced this on social media before Raw even actually went on the air. Other notable moves in this draft saw the breakup of the Wyatt family. Bray Wyatt moved to Raw while Eric Rowan remained on SmackDown. Harper was currently out with an injury. 2018, WWE did similar to 2017 with just a superstar shakeup. Monday Night Raw yet again had the first move of the draft, and that was the current United States Champion, Jinder Mahal. Seemingly, it looked like the United States Championship was moving from SmackDown to Raw. That wasn't the case. On that same night, Mahal was forced to defend his championship against Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy would successfully win the title and then, get drafted over to SmackDown in the Superstar Shakeup, moving the United States Championship right back over to the blue brand. Also, with Jeff Hardy being moved over to that blue brand, that was the breakup of the Hardy Boys. In 2019, everything changed for WWE. They moved back to Friday nights, they started airing on Fox, and we got an actual draft again. With that, Raw had the number one draft pick, and Stephanie McMahon made it known that Raw was keeping their Raw Women's Champion in Becky Lynch. At the time, Becky Lynch was probably the most popular superstar in the entire company. She was coming off of main eventing WrestleMania with Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, and this was a no-brainer for Becky to become the number one draft pick. Becky Lynch would only be the second woman ever to be the number one draft pick. One other note from the 2019 draft, saw the call-up of the Street Profits as they were the overall number 20 pick on night one. Finally, we got last year's draft, 2020. In the 2020 draft, again, Monday Night Raw had the number one overall draft pick. You hear the theme there? Raw, number one overall draft pick. Think about tonight, probably going to be Raw again. With that, Monday Night Raw kept the WWE Champion, and they drafted Drew McIntyre. The big shocker coming out of this draft, though, was, the WWE split up the New Day. Xavier Woods made his big return after being injured for so many months, and he and Kofi won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. But as soon as they did, Stephanie gave them the bad news. She had announced that Monday Night Raw, they were picking Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, yet SmackDown was picking Big E, splitting off Big E from the other two members of the New Day, but, as we now know, just for a little under a year. With SmackDown Tag Team Champions moving over to Monday Night Raw, we also saw the Street Profits, the current Raw Tag Team Champions, moved over to SmackDown. They swapped belts and, all was copacetic. So with that, guys, those were the 13 number one draft picks in the WWE draft and some superstar shakeups. Now, we go into the 2021 draft tonight on Friday Night SmackDown. Let us know in the comments below on who you think will become the number one draft pick tonight on SmackDown. And, if you like this video and want to see more like it, not only comment below and let us know, but hit that thumbs up button, give it a like, and share it as well. For more on tonight's WWE draft, keep it locked right here on Pro Wrestling Unlimited.